Ladies and gentlemen, we are live today for another edition of NASCAR Chase for... I haven't done that in a while. Another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control, and we are set for another Do It for Dale Series race, but this time it is the Busch Series, and it is the Phoenix International Raceway under the lights. It's the first year that Phoenix had night racing, and it's going to take place with us again in this Busch Series race. Race number 9 of 35 on the season coming into tonight's race, and this should be an interesting one because Dale Earnhardt Jr. seems to be really good, speed-wise at least, on the short tracks. 2 of them this year, one in which he won, and at Bristol he had one of the better cars in the field. Unfortunately ran out of gas with 4 laps to go on a bad pit strategy in that race, which costed him and relegated him back to a 42nd place finish when he had a good shot at the win that day. Now, what will happen in this one, we'll have to wait and see. I think Dale Jr. will have a fast car, but I'm not entirely sure because no practice, no qualifying for today's race. That's going to make things interesting. We'll be starting from the rear of the field. So like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Let's get into this one, and hopefully Dale Jr. can get just his second win of the Busch Series season. Just to recap what has happened so far on this season, Dale Jr. has had a lot of bad luck in the Busch Series. In fact, he comes into this race with only 3 top 10s in the first 8 races, 1 top 5, and that was a win back at the UPS Speedway in the 3rd race of the year, which was a half-mile short track. He has led no more than 65 laps in a race this season, which actually took place at the Mr. Clean Speedway, where he actually ended up finishing in the 10th place position, one of his 3 top 10s on the season. He is coming off a 9th place finish at Texas, so that is good. He had a lot of speed, led 26 laps in that race. Unfortunately, though, a lot of cautions in that one as we had 13 yellows, a NASCAR 06 record on the channel, and it was in a Busch Series race. So hopefully we can get through this one unscathed. I think track position is going to be very important. The drivers who qualified towards the front are likely going to win this race. And statistically, it doesn't seem like the odds are in our favor, but we'll see if Dale Jr. can get it done. Bentley, Potts, Patrick Chatterley, Billy Carjoy, and others, welcome to the stream. Let's get tonight's racing action underway. Race number 9 at the Phoenix International Raceway will be ready to rock and roll. The green flag is in the air, and Shane Meal will be on the pole for this one and lead the field to the green. The 50% races are over now for the NASCAR Busch Series season on NASCAR 06. What will come of the rest of the season? Dale Jr. trying to dig himself out of a huge points deficit early in the year. He's 311 points out of first and comes into this race 18th in the standings. Really needs some good runs going forward. Again, I mentioned only 3 top 10s in the first 8 races. That's not going to do it for a championship. And Carl Edwards has won 3 of the last 4 races. All 3 of his wins on the season within those last 4 races. He has been on an absolute tear right now. And even Clint Boyer's won 2 of the last 5. So between Edwards and Boyer both, a combination between the 2 of them at least, they have won the last 5 races. Mark DeMars, welcome to the stream as well. Dale Jr. looking to make a pass as of right now on the inside. Lap number 2. Trying to get a feel for his race car. Again, no practice or qualifying. This is the first trip to Phoenix on NASCAR 06 at any of the 3 series. Off the curb goes Dale Jr., and he kind of got squeezed a bit by the 83 car on his outside. It's going to make it a lot of 2x2 racing, and actually 3 wide up towards the front, middle of the pack rather, but the front of this big pack. Somebody got up into the walls. They got squeezed as well. Junior went to the bottom just trying to avoid everything. Now the car in line behind him bounces up off the curb. That curb doesn't seem to be very friendly in the dog leg. Again, this old Phoenix layout, what we would now know as the front stretch is the back stretch. And in the dog leg, there is grass there, so you can't cut it, and a curb. Unlike today where it is all asphalt. A lot more banking on this racetrack today than what there was at this time period. Turns 1 and 2 relatively the same. One car nearly gets turned off the exit of the dog leg. Made it a phenomenal save. I don't know who that was exactly. I think it was the 116 car, but a tremendous save, and that kept us from having a wreck. Now we nearly had another one as J.J. Yaley gets squeezed into the wall off of turn 4. These Busch Series races have been crazy this season, to say the least. We had a couple of wreck fests, and we've almost had a few wrecks at the back of the pack in the early going of this one. Junior's trying to find himself out of harm's way. Luckily, he's able to get on the brakes in time to keep from piling into the back of anybody. Junior's car seemingly handling really well. An aggressive move to try and make a pass for 35th. It's going to work. A little bump and run. And a big run on the 116 car. Picking up where we left off at Texas last week on Friday. For those of you that did not watch that race, I highly recommend going back to watch it. I thought about making a highlight video of it. If I didn't have to leave for Gateway the next day, I likely would have, because that was one of the more insane races I think we've ever seen on the channel. So many AI-related accidents. They were all big wrecks, too. Oh, contact! They realized there was a rival on the outside of Dale Jr. He tried to take a swing at him. That led to the contact off the exit of turn 4, but Jr. will complete the pass. It actually hurt the car on the outside who initiated the contact more than it hurt Dale Jr. Both cars kept it off the wall, though. Jr. not going to be overly aggressive this time into turn 3. Brian Gallant, Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. So who's winning the race? As far as right now, who is in the lead, that would be the 32 of Shane Neal, who started on the pole. One of the Busch Series regulars from the 05 season, which is where this game takes place. Next race will be at Talladega on Saturday night for the Busch Series. And if you thought these races have been wild in the Busch Series so far this season, just wait till we go to Dega for the first time in NASCAR 06. I can't imagine what's going to happen there. If I had to guess, if it's going to be like most of the Busch Series races, it's probably going to be a wreck fest. Dale Jr. just trying to keep himself out of harm's way. It's going to be tough starting at the back of the pack with no practice or qualifying. I have to say, setup-wise, in the short run side of things, I think the car's handling pretty well. It's a little snug, so hopefully it doesn't get too bad later into the run, but it's not terrible. I think I can get used to driving the car after a little bit, once I get more and more laps under my belt. Almost overdrove turn 1, nearly clipped the inside wall, barely kept it off of the inside wall, and still got back to the gas relatively quickly. Off the curb, didn't bounce too egregiously that time, and he actually clears the car, despite hitting the curbing on the backstretch. Junior trying to intimidate the 152 right in front of him. He did. He got him loose. And that's going to allow Dale Jr. to make a move off the exit of turn 2. And that is going to allow him to clear the 152 car. Remember, Dale Jr. again, only one win on the season. He has not led many laps. Looking for better luck in this Busch Series season. And again, the short tracks have been where he has been at his best on this Busch Series season, where his only win came from on a half-mile short track. I know this is a 1-mile racetrack. Some consider it an intermediate. I consider Phoenix a short track just by the way it races. How flat and the relatively shorter speeds. Contact with the 120. Junior pushing a bit tight. Gonna hang on to it though, and he's cracked the top 30. I have to say, though, he's gained 14 positions in the first 14 laps, averaging 1 car a lap on a pass average, and the 81 car is slowly getting through this field pretty well. A lot of 2x2 traffic still in front of him. A little loose that time into turn 3. He got a bit loose a couple laps ago in turns 3 and 4 as well on corner entry. Jeff Gordon going to... Well, Gordon's not in this race. He's only in the Cup Series in this game. Once he went full-time Cup racing, he never really ran in the Busch, or what's now known as the Xfinity Series, at all. Junior looking to the bottom, thought about taking it 3 wide. Again, thinking better of it. Junior being relatively patient. Flipped the apron a little bit. Didn't really upset the race car at all on this flatter racetrack. Spirit of Black, welcome to the stream. It is a jam session right in the middle right now. A lot of traffic bunched up. Little room for error. And we're under caution for the first time today. Trouble, I believe, up ahead. So caution's out for the first time. Did not take long. The way things started, I'm not surprised. And it looks like we had a bit of a slide. It wasn't really a spin. The 139 car gotten a bit sideways. I don't know if he had contact from Boyer. I don't believe Boyer got into the back of him. I think he just lost it. And he actually saved it, but the caution still came out. Race control a little bit quick on the yellow flag there. Dale Jr. is going to stay out of the pits. We'll see if anybody else is going to hit pit road. And they are pitting, so this is going to give Dale Jr. the lead. Nope, Jr.'s going to pit with him. He's not going to go off strategy this time. But he also isn't going to pit for tires right now either. He's just going to top off on fuel, and that's going to be it. So, very interesting call from Dale Jr. He will pit. So it's going to still keep him in traffic, but he's going to go fuel only. It's going to be a splash and go to just top off. No adjustment changes. We'll see how many spots he's going to gain right now. He thought about staying out, but because everybody came in, he wants to at least make sure that he is going to be on the same fuel as everybody else. Again, these guys went about 16 laps before that first caution. Yeah, maybe Boyer intimidated him. So, it looks like Boyer's actually going to win the race off pit road. A lot of spots gained for Dale Jr. He gains about 20 spots on pit road. Comes out 5th place going fuel only. So he could have gotten the lead and gotten the clean air, but decided to at least top off. He's got the same amount of fuel in his race car as everybody else, but he's got about 14 lap older tires. And I guess that caution that happened in front of Boyer is going to actually pay dividends for Clint, because he is going to restart in the lead. Again, Boyer has 2 wins on the season, one of the early season championship contenders. Ryan Newman just popped the wall off the exit of turn 4, and now has Martin Truex Jr. underneath him. Junior's going to be asking a lot out of his tires, going an extra 14 laps compared to everybody else, if and only if we get a long green flag run. We don't typically have a lot of in the Busch Series, so that was part of the reason why he decided to go fuel only and try to get the track position. It's going to be even harder to pass cars than what it already is at Phoenix regardless. And honestly, I think this old configuration, there's a little bit less passing than what you would see now. Less asphalt. Track is more narrow. Still pretty wide off the exit of turn 2. It narrows up so quick on the backstretch because of the grass in the infield. Nearly side by side for 3rd. Looks like Tony Raines is trying to pull out, make a pass on, I believe, Brian Vickers. Derek Booth, welcome to the stream. Already 11 likes on the stream. Thanks for everybody hitting that like button. Upwards of 15 people watching. Wanted to get a little bit of an earlier start time for a Busch race tonight. Don't usually do that, but try to get you guys out of here as quick as possible, because I know the NASCAR Weekly Podcast is on Wednesday nights. And I've kind of noticed that it seems like we hit that 8 o'clock hour, and we don't seem to get as many views on Wednesday nights for that, so I know that you guys are probably wanting to watch that live stream, so this race should be over right about the start of that one. I'll probably bleed into it just a hair. Dale Jr. definitely struggling on 14 lap older tires. You can tell tire wear is going to matter here today at Phoenix. A lot of stress on the right front tire with how flat this racetrack is. With a teammate right behind Dale Jr., that should help him out. puts a lot of pressure on it. I think team orders might come into play for Dale Jr. to keep himself out in front. Dale Jr., a co-owner of Chance 2 Motorsports at this time, of the 81 and the 8 car of Martin Truex Jr. Truex, another one of the front runners for the championship right now. Junior just looking for solid points today. He's trying to get himself out of the hole. Again, 311 points out of first coming into today's race, and 18th in points after 8 races of 35. Still a large portion of the season still to go. One car had just blown an engine a lap or two ago, made it to pit road. We continue to stay green. And Bowyer continues to lead. Nobody passed Shane Meal before that first caution after he started on the pole. The leader is going to be very, very hard to pass in this one. That's why the restarts are going to be so vital. Pit strategy is going to be so vital, because even Dale Jr. on 14-lap older tires, I know he's not really keeping up too much with the 4 cars in front of him. He's not really struggling, but at the same time, he's keeping himself right where he restarted in 5th, which is crucial. So that way, if he does get back on same strategy with how the cautions could potentially play out the rest of this race, you definitely see him claw his way back in. Right now, he's just trying to hang in there on a bit older tires. That's not a good thing to hear, Mark, but, well, it's a good / not good thing to hear. Glad to hear it, and I'm glad you enjoyed the stream so much, but thinks you had a bad day. Don't let it get to you. I think very, very easily people tend to have one bad thing happen to them throughout the course of a day, and it wrecks their whole day. Sometimes it could be a big thing, but sometimes it isn't. Hopefully in your case it isn't. You can get over it quick. Isaiah Z, welcome to the stream. See you in the chat. My day was pretty good. Hopefully your guys' days went pretty swell also. I think Dale Jr. would rather be where he's at in traffic right now versus way back in the pack like we saw at the initial start of the race and how wacky that was, which led to that early caution. Dad said the exact same thing. Yeah, I mean, everybody has that stuff happen to him. Can't wait for the Talladega stream. Yeah, like I said, if you thought Texas was entertaining, yes, Texas, due to the amount of wrecks at least that we saw. I don't judge that off of entertainment-wise for real races, but for the video game side of things, it could get pretty crazy. I mean, to tell you how crazy it was, we had 13 cautions. One of those did not include me spinning out the 2 of Bowyer while exiting my pit box, because that was already under caution when that happened. I literally turned him right around and he spun out exiting pit road. Never seen that before in the EA games. Firstly, Wade Solinsky, welcome to the stream as well. Gotta pause it for a quick second. Got a you-know-what down in the chat. Everybody report it. We didn't have an issue with it last night. Jacob Givens, welcome to the stream. Didn't mess my corner up, so that's good. Dale Jr. is slowly closing in on the cars ahead of him. I'm 9/10 of a second off the lead. Glued to that yellow line through turns 3 and 4. The hard part is going to be trying to make passes on these older tires. It is going to be very risky to do so And if you're Dale Jr., I know these Busch Series races are shorter, but the bad luck you've had most of the season, you just got to take what you can get right now. Just hang on and hope for a caution at some point to even the strategy back out as far as tires go. Then he could be more aggressive or wait for somebody to just flat out make a mistake in front of you and you can pass him that way. Yeah, if you haven't checked out my post-race analysis video from the track at Gateway this weekend, I highly recommend it for you wondering what I thought of the racetrack, because that was my instant reaction. I mean, it was definitely a strategy-based race where track position mattered more than anything. I don't think it was any different from how like a traditional Pocono or an Indianapolis oval race would have went. But I think strategy races from time to time are entertaining, which is why I don't really have a problem with Pocono races or Indianapolis races on the oval. A lot of people want to see side-by-side race in every race, but I think it's okay to have a couple racetracks on the schedule that play out just like, you know, Gateway did from time to time. It puts the uniqueness. Obviously, it's unique in itself because there's no other track like it on the circuit. Very flat, egg-shaped. Somewhat older surface. Dark Crypto, welcome to the stream. Yeah, Goodyear in general, we saw another issue, and I know it hasn't been as big of a problem this last weekend at least, with the left rear tire. I don't think it's so much the teams why the tire is blowing, at least early in the run. I could see at the beginning of the run, maybe the air pressures are a bit too low, the tire gives out. That's one thing. But we're consistently seeing tires blow out on any racetrack really after about a 40-plus lap stint. As the tires get older, the left rear just gives out. I don't think that's starting the air pressure out too low, because if you start it out low, or even wherever you started off at, the air pressure will build up as heat builds up in the tire, and the heat's going to build up in the tire the longer the green flag run. So as you get 45-plus laps into a run, or 30-plus laps into a run, the air pressure you started with is not the same air pressure that's in the tire at that time. In fact, it would probably be at what Goodyear would say the minimum tire wear or minimum PSI that you should hold in that tire would be, but the tire's still giving out. And that's where I think it falls on Goodyear. If we see tires blow out very early in a run, not too far after pit stops, then I would blame that more on the teams than anything else. But longer into the green flag run, I think it's a Goodyear problem, especially if it's as consistent as it's been. I know they're probably working hard. You know, there's a lot of men and women that work at Goodyear that, you know, they do all these samples. I think they need more tire tests. I think that'll definitely help. They've had sporadic tire tests throughout the course of the season, and honestly, the tracks that we've seen tire tests at on a somewhat frequent basis, you haven't seen as many tire failures. Like Phoenix, I know they did quite a few tire tests at during the off-season, and I don't remember there being any tire issues at Phoenix when they were there earlier this season. Obviously, they did some at Charlotte, and we did see a couple at Charlotte. The intermediates seem to be where they're happening more often. But it doesn't matter whether it's a flat intermediate like Gateway or a longer intermediate with banking like Charlotte or Texas. So I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a tire specialist. I don't know exactly what's going on there, what they could do to fix it, but it's definitely something that needs fixed, because this has been a constant issue throughout the course of the season on almost a week-to-week basis at this point. And we're past halfway through the regular season, and it's still the same issue we saw pretty much from the start of the year. And I remember seeing some of that happening at Fontana in the second race of the season. Tyler Reddick blew a tire while leading in that race after a long green flag run, and it wasn't because of the legitimate tire wear on the racetrack. At the time, we thought it was, but because it's happening on a consistent basis, whether the track has tire wear or not. Texas doesn't have hardly any tire wear, and the left rear tires were given out at Texas during the All-Star race. Saw it with Kyle Busch. And I know some may argue, well, they should have pitted during the stage break. They were on older tires. Remember, the first stage was only 25 laps, and he blew the tire at, what, lap 36, 37, not including the caution laps that they ran. So he probably only had 30 laps on his tires, which, again, that 30 to 40 lap mark is where we tend to see it happen. I don't think that was any fault of Kyle Busch at all. So they definitely need to figure something out, and pronto, because it's going to cost somebody a championship as we get into the playoffs. I mean, it's already look how many times it's happened to Tyler Reddick this year already. I mean, it's legitimately could cost Tyler Reddick a shot at just making the playoffs. How many wins he could have had taken away from him just because of a tire issue, or obviously all the points he lost because of it during the stages and at the end of the race because of not finishing the race because of the blown tire, or finishing multiple laps down. I mean, it may if Tyler Reddick misses the playoffs this year, I'm gonna blame Goodyear, honestly. I mean, yeah, you can blame Chase Briscoe at Dirt Bristol, but there were a lot of other races than Dirt Bristol where Reddick lost, and a lot of those other ones he lost where he was having really good runs and had a shot to win were mainly because of the tires falling apart. "50 laps into this race right now, just the one caution back on lap 16. This is the longest of the 2 green flag runs in the early going of the race. What's a left-rear tire? Never heard of it? Yeah, Goodyear hasn't either. Here's my Goodyear burn of the day. That was a harsher burn than the rubber burning off the left rear tires this season. There's another one. I'll be here all week. Bowyer has not pulled away from anybody, but because of how hard this track is to pass, especially with the leader, that's why Bowyer is still out in front. So crucial for him to win that race off of pit road. And give props to Dale Jr. on older tires right now. The fact that he is only 0.8 of a second off the lead. I think he's got to like the spot he is in at this point in the race. One car just got shuffled out of line. Lost second place and is in danger of losing third now. Bowyer better be careful and not go too far wide. They give up an opportunity to maintain the lead, although he is getting a pretty good drive off and down the straightaways with that forward momentum. Created a little bit of a gap that second half of the last lap. A little bit through 1 and 2 as well. About a half a car length separation right now. A little crossover by the 4th place car. You guys wondering why I pause it? If you look at the chat, you'll know why. But if you keep seeing me pause it without explanation, you won't need any further explanation. You guys know I very rarely pause it as it is. I think Goodyear's part of the problem, though. I think they're most of the problem, to be completely honest. On long green flag runs, yes. For the tires going away, at least. A little more of a gap for Bowyer through 3 and 4. For about the 3rd straight lap, he has been better than everybody else through there. Second place car went really wide that last time. I think Aaron Crocker in the 6 is the next car in front of the 81 of Dale Jr. right now. Jr. hasn't really been close enough to really be able to make an attempt at a pass. Well, he might now. Crocker got loose off of turn 4. And Dale Jr. couldn't really capitalize. Crocker getting loose again. Dale Jr. all over the back of Aaron Crocker looking for 4th place. Forcing her into a little bit of a mistake. 2 straight corners. Look at the gap between 3rd and 4th now. Lap traffic could definitely be a factor, especially if Boyer not pulling away. I'd have to imagine his car is likely not great in traffic, considering he's not pulling away from the field with the clean air. Junior looks low. He's going to try to make the pass on Crocker this time. Side by side. And I think there's a good shot Dale Jr. is going to be able to get around her in turn 1. Drives it in deep. Runs her up the racetrack just a little bit. And is going to complete the pass for 4th. It looks similar to the way it was the passing lane to get around cars at Gateway this last weekend. Just kind of throw it in deep into the corner, run up the racetrack, kind of force the car off the bottom as much as possible to the outside and complete the pass. Wasn't really a dirty move by Dale Jr. He made it work very well. And see if he can pull away now and try to reel in the top 3 again. Again, he has about 16 lap older tires. And has had them for a while. They may be a little bit more evened out at this point in the run, considering that we are over 40 laps now into this green flag run. Need a baby formula for crybabies like Ty Gibbs. Welcome to the stream. Susie Check, welcome as well. Imagine if tumbleweeds invaded Phoenix Raceway. I don't think that'd be impossible. Imagine being bit by a rattlesnake on Rattlesnake Hill at Phoenix. Could you imagine watching a NASCAR race and then just getting bit by a rattlesnake? That'd be a wild story to tell. I was at the NASCAR Championship back in 2022 and I got bit by a rattlesnake. Craziest thing. That could happen. I hope I'm not foreshadowing anything, but that'd be a heck of a vlog this year. I am going to Phoenix. I do not want that to happen to me. That, God forbid that happens to anybody. Would it be great content? Yes, but there's some things I am not willing to give up or do for content. Would include being bit by a rattlesnake. Or a snake of any kind. Both unintentionally and intentionally. Halfway on fuel, right about the time Dale Jr. is about to hit the start-finish line to start lap 65. Ward Burton would help with the rattlesnake issue. Blow it off with a shotgun. That wasn't a great Ward Burton impersonation, but you guys probably get what I'm getting at. I know Susie would probably understand. That'd be the only snake I'd be willing... Yeah, but you wouldn't get bit, you'd be stunned by Stone Cold. And that would be in Texas, by the way, because he's the Texas rattlesnake. Leaders still have not caught lap traffic yet, over 40 laps into this green flag run. I'm quite surprised, to be completely honest. About a third of the way home today. Dale Jr. about 1.6 seconds off the lead in 4th. Having a nice calm race. Remember, he started in last. Even though he's ran in the top 5 from about lap 20 on, he took fuel only during the pit stops under the first caution just 16 laps in. It does seem like Junior's losing a little bit of time, though, to Clint Boyer at this point in the run. He is pulling away from Crocker, though, back in 5th. And he has made one pass since the restart. That's insane, though, that we are over 40 laps into the run. And restarted 5th, stayed in 5th. Took him almost 35 laps or so to make a pass. Did it about another 10 afterwards, and he's still in 4th. Slowly creeping up to, I believe, Tony Raines, who is in 3rd. If this isn't Raines, it's Vickers, and then Vickers would be in 2nd if it's not the car in front of us. They're both very similar in color, at least from behind. So it's hard to tell exactly which one's which. Clint Boyer dealing with lap traffic for the first time today as he'll catch his first lap car off the exit of turn 2, get around him on the back stretch into the dog leg, and easily clear by the time they got into 3 and 4. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in today's race. About the next 6 laps. I know the tires are in the yellow on the tire wear indicator yet, so Junior's taking care of them pretty well, and that's even with them being a bit older. Definitely going to be as far as he's going to go on tires if they go the full length of this run and have to make green flag stops. That's something you'll probably see a lot of this season in the Busch Series is green flag pit stops. By the way things have happened so far this season. Kind of like real life with the Xfinity/Truck Series. You very rarely see green flag pit stops. Lap car right in front of Dale Jr. Be the 108. First lap car Jr. is going to have to try to pass today. And a great undercut move. Just got to the apron with the left side tires, but it looks like he will be able to complete the pass on the lap car to his outside cleanly. So makes a clean pass through turns 3 and 4. He's got another lap car in front of him that the third place car just passed. Oh. We'll scrape the wall off turn 4. You can definitely tell in this heavier traffic now his car is really starting to tighten up. Hence why he got the wall that time off turn 4. Hopefully that's not a sign for things to come in this heavier lap traffic. So his car starts to fade. We'll go back to the far chase cam for now. Junior overdrives turns 1 and 2 a bit. He already had the lap car clear, and now he's probably going to have to get around him again. Nope, I think he's got enough speed in the number 81 Chevrolet to hang on. But he is about 2 seconds off the lead now, which is as far back as he has been since the restart. Ethan, welcome to the stream. My thoughts on Ross Chastain. As like a driver overall, he's definitely one of the more aggressive drivers in the Cup Series. He's like a... I'm trying to compare Ross Chastain to somebody else from like NASCAR history. And I feel like Ross Chastain is like a humble version of Kevin Harvick. if that makes any sense. Like Kevin Harvick, he's always like, when he was younger, he was always getting into feuds and running into people. But he wasn't humble about it. he was a hothead. Chastain's the opposite of that. He's not a hothead, but he still runs over people, and he's very aggressive in that manner. Similar to Kevin Harvick in his younger years. But he's like a nicer, happier version of it. That's what I see Ross Chastain as. And he wins races, kind of like Harvick when he was younger. So this is the first time we've seen him in somewhat competitive equipment, really, between last year and this year. He's making the most of it. A lot heavier lap traffic now for the two of Clint Boyer up ahead. A little bit of a mistake that time from Dale Jr. getting into turn 1. It's the longest line of lap cars we have seen this entire race. I think after the Sonoma races, no, they still have a long ways to go in the regular season. Next time they go back to Daytona, that's the last race in the regular season, then the playoffs start after that. First playoff race is the Southern 500 at Darlington. But they do have an off week after Sonoma. The only off week of the season. Who else thinks this NASCAR season's flying by? It usually feels like that about this point in the year. You're like, man, the season's about half over already. Well, Dale Jr. just a couple laps ago was only 1.6 seconds off the lead, but he's not able to pass any of the lap cars right now, which is definitely hurting him. Gonna have to start being maybe just a little bit more aggressive in trying to make some passes. And while he does that, we'll fast forward to Martin Truex Jr. in the 8. Truex is back in the 6th place position right now. He is not on older tires. Yep, live commentary for Sonoma. I did find out today, though, unfortunately I will not be able to do the truck race like I originally hoped for this weekend. But yes, definitely doing live commentary for the Cup race. Weekly streaming schedule will be out on the channel after the stream tonight. Tyler Burbeck, welcome to the stream. Martin Truex Jr. in 6th place, but 9.3 seconds off the lead. Clint Boyer is dominating the race so far today as far as laps led, but I don't know if he's necessarily got the dominant car. I think really just anybody in the top 5, if they can get to the lead, they should be able to hold on. Truex's car is rolling through these corners a lot better than Dale Jr.'s. Again, he's got about 16 lap fresher tires, which is going to help. And we'll go back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Oh, and he nearly got wiped out. That's going to force Dale Jr. on the outside. A couple lap cars are going to get by down to the bottom. I don't know who that was. It was one of the fantasy drivers who just sideswiped Dale Jr. getting into the dogleg on the backstretch, costing Jr. a bit of time, and now he's 3.5 seconds off the lead. Runs a car wide into the wall, and Jr. is wrecked. Oh, and he just gets drilled on the right side of his race car. Parts and pieces of cars flying everywhere. Our second caution of the race. I don't know if that was the car that ran into him the lap before or not that clobbered him, but nowhere to go for him. That is a tough break. That all kind of started a lap ago. We fast forwarded back to Dale Jr. and we saw him in traffic right there. And that is not good. He cannot pit for fuel or tires. Our second caution of the race today. And about 4.7 seconds of damage that Dale Jr. is going to have to repair. This is costly because he was up towards the front. He was struggling with the handling of his car in lap traffic. And he just got a bit too tight that time in the lap traffic, and up the track he went. Really good race going for Dale Jr. And the good news is he got hit pretty square in the right side, so I don't think it's going to damage the engine at all necessarily. But aerodynamically, that's got to be hurting this 81, you would have to assume. Should have stayed with the number 8. Well, unfortunately, I'm racing as Dale Jr., so I don't like to spend too much time with the driver swap. Nobody else pitted for fuel or tires, though. Quarter tank of gas left for the field, and Dale Jr. back at 28th. Last car in the lead lap now following the accident. Probably going to be seeing some cars pitting sometime soon. I'm surprised nobody pitted when they did have a shot under the yellow. Jr. still the same strategy as the rest of the field, but obviously he's back in traffic, and he doesn't feel comfortable trying to pass cars this late in the run right now because he saw what just happened when he tried to do it, and we saw the caution. Mr. Bold Clean Picker, yeah, I have to unlock him in this game. I have to unlock all the fantasy tracks first, though. Car's checking up into turn 3. I thought that was a sign that cars were going to come into the pits, but it wasn't the case. And the right front's starting to wear out a bit more on Dale Jr.'s number 81 Chevrolet as well. Junior's got to be ready for when the field pits in front of him because they're probably going to stack up on that inside lane, which is obviously the preferred lane at Phoenix as we've seen all day today. Would I go Bold? I mean, obviously under the right circumstances. Not right now. Like, I'm not just going to shave my head. Oh, caution for debris, and that's going to be interesting. So our third yellow of the race today, lap 95. Will cars pit this time? Still just shy of the halfway mark. That was the caution Dale Jr. needed before he was involved in the second caution of the race. Because now he can pit for tires, but I would imagine a lot of the other cars are going to pit too. No, they're going to stay out. Wow. Very interesting. So they stayed out during the second and third yellow. Dale Jr. is going to pit. 4 tires, fuel. And he is not going to make any adjustments to his race car. So it'll be the first set of tires going on the 81. Remember, he did not pit 4 tires at all. Not even right sides during that first stop of the race. He took fuel only back on lap 16 during the first yellow. So this is only the first set of tires, going on the race car. Yep, definitely taking advantage of the yellow. I'm surprised nobody else pit. Junior's going to have to be patient. I know he's going to have a lot fresher tires than the rest of the field on the restart, but you know that the rest of the field is going to have to pit somewhat soon. We were under the... I mean, Junior was low on fuel, so that tells me he only had a quarter tank of gas left. And he was on the same fuel strategy as everybody else. Not anymore. Green flag back in the air, lap 99. Brian Vickers took the lead off that last restart from Clint Boyer. We'll see if Boyer can get it back. Lap cars lining up on the inside of the lead lap cars up ahead. So now the good news is with Junior going a little bit off strategy here, if we get another quick caution and they decide to pit then, Dale Jr. could stay out. He'll be in the lead. And we know how hard it is to pass the leader today on a non-restart. Which is why I think Vickers is in good shape, at least until the rest of the field hits pit road. We'll be halfway home next lap. We have had 3 cautions today so far in the first half of the race. Big stack up on the outside lane. Junior's being patient at the back. He is not pushing hard right now. He's trying to give himself some room for if cars hit pit road. He's running that middle to upper groove in turns 3 and 4. He is ready at any given time for the field to pit. Halfway home at the start-finish line now. Time for tonight's trivia question. And here is our Phoenix International Raceway track fact. In NASCAR Xfinity Series history, only one driver has led all 200 laps in a race at Phoenix. That driver was Kyle Busch. What year did he lead all 200 laps en route to victory in an Xfinity race at Phoenix? That is tonight's trivia question. What year did Kyle Busch lead all 200 laps in an Xfinity race at Phoenix? Is tonight's trivia question. And right as I ask the question, we have a bot. Oh, no, not Mark DeMars. I don't want to hide him from the channel. They're spamming so fast that I clicked on the wrong person in the chat. It was not 2010. It was not 2002. He was not in the Busch Series. Kurt Busch was in the Cup Series at that time. Kyle Busch was not in a Premier Series yet. 2002. It was not 2016. 1969. Obviously it was not then. He wasn't even born yet. Not 2013, but it looks like Patrick Shadley got tonight's trivia question correct. It was 2011. Kyle Busch led all 200 laps in an Xfinity race at Phoenix in 2011. The only time any driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Phoenix had led all 200 laps. And the odd thing was, credit to his pit crew that day, because there were 3 cautions in the race for 15 caution laps. He still led every lap. Won the race off pit road every time. And held on to the lead on every restart also. And we have a yellow. Not what Dale Jr. wanted to see. Somebody hit the tire barrier at the front of the pit road entrance. So even if Jr. didn't clobber the back of the field there, it looked like somebody else would have wrecked anyways. Our 4th caution of the race. And Jr. was holding back, and they still stacked up more than what he had expected they were going to. And that costed him. Didn't I just report this person? Well, it's not an actual person, it's a bot. And now Junior's going to have to pit to repair damage. And he can't pit for fuel or tires. Now, he did just pit for fuel or tires a little bit before the yellow, but unfortunately, he has a lot of damage to the front of his race car once again. (2010) I thought it was only 2011. Let me fact check this. No, it was 2011. He didn't do it in 2010. I was going to say, I have it up on the racing reference. 2011, Carl Edwards finished 2nd, Kevin Harvick 3rd, Newman 4th, Sorensen in 5th. You have to go back to Stenhouse in 7th, was the highest running Xfinity Series regular that finished in that race. 7th place. Um... 2010, Edwards won, leading 153 laps in the fall. In the spring, oops, hang on. In the spring in 2010, Kyle Busch did win in the spring in 2010. He started 2nd. He did not lead every lap, though. 7 cautions. He led 126 laps out of 200. He did it 2 times. I don't think so. Not that I can recall. What other year would he have done it? Somebody mentioned 2016. Let me check that one. He led 175 laps in 2016. He was close. I think he only did it the 1 year. He might have done it at another racetrack, but not at Phoenix. 2019, 116. So, I mean, he dominates Phoenix Xfinity races, but he only led every lap once. He had a couple wins in, let's see, 2014. 2014, he led 155. My goodness. He's definitely leading over half the race every time. 2013, 142 in the spring. He won the fall race also. And he led 169 in that one. It only happened once. I made sure I fact-checked myself. I remember watching this race in person, too. I remember even the, at the time, 12-year-old me was like, wow, that was impressive. 2008, 133. He has won a lot at Phoenix in the Xfinity Series. 2007, 132. And I think that was the last one for him. Or, well, technically it was the first one, but I've checked all of them. No, he only did it once. Maybe he did it at another track. It's possible. He definitely didn't do it at Phoenix, though. I just double-checked. Nathan Elliott, welcome to the stream, though. Ever since Jared from Subway got on Biffle Box, those pop-ups, oh, yeah. Well, Dale Jr. is back up to fifth. The sad part is he could have been in the lead. He did get to the bottom pretty quickly. He was on the right pit strategy if it wasn't for that caution. Really needed it to stay green. He only has a few lap older tires, so it's not going to really make a difference here. And he got to the bottom very quickly to get around the lap cars, and he's going to actually make a pass for third on the restart. Aggressively getting around and clearing one of the lap cars. Vickers just lost the lead on the restart to Clint Boyer in the 2. Boyer trying to get the clean air before the rest of the leaders. Dale Jr. looking for second on the curbing. Can't quite get around the 57 of Vickers. Slides into the lap car, though, in the 119. He drove it in too deep. 90 laps to go. Boyer back in the lead at Phoenix. Jr. up to a race-high third-place position after the restart. It's just so hard to pass at this racetrack outside of a restart, and especially in the driver with clean air. And if we stay green to the end of the race, this could be Boyer's race to lose. He has led the most laps by far in this one up to this point, and he is trying to get his third win of the season in just the first 9 races. But that it would only tie himself for the most because Edwards has 3. But Boyer is a Busch Series regular, not in the Cup Series yet in the 05 season. 1 lap car right now sticking around. Dale Jr. really wants to get around him quickly. He's trying. Gonna work his way underneath him off the exit of turn 4. Those 2 hardest cars to pass, though, are definitely going to be the 2 and the 57. Contact. Aggressive clearance from Jr. Eyes set on Clint Boyer and Brian Vickers. He's got the speed to keep up with them. We know he struggles in lap traffic, so he's going to want to get around him before that. He should have quite a bit of time, at least 40 laps. Did you actually meet Jared from Subway? 20 laps to go at the Phoenix Raceway. We'll take our final field pass of the race. We'll see where Martin Truex Jr. is following the restart. And then we'll go back to Dale Jr. after a couple laps. Oh, contact off turn 4 between Michael Jordan Jr. and Martin Truex Jr. Truex had heavy traffic back in 15th following the restart. A lot of lap cars in front of him still as well. Looks to the bottom. 3 wide right now in the front stretch. A little bit of contact off the curb. That pass on Jordan Jr. was for position. There's a lap car that was on the outside. That 3 wide skirmish. Looking like the inside of a hornet's nest. In front of Truex. Big lane opened up on the inside, the outside stacking up. One car chops Truex's line off. Truex with a big power slide. Hangs on to it. We'll go back to Dale Jr. for the rest of the race. Jr. still in third. Boyer pulling away just a little bit from Vickers. Will we stay green to the end? And if we do, it'll be the longest green flag run of the race today. Just less than 90 laps. Can Dale Jr. force Brian Vickers into a mistake in second? Got him to wiggle at least a little bit. He turns 1 and 2. Vickers is going to be the easier of the two to pass. He's not the one in the clean air. He's a guest commencement speaker at Indiana University. Where your aunt went. Small world. I would say that's pretty cool, but knowing, you know, what happened to that guy in hindsight, I don't think that'd be the right thing to say. Cool story, how about that? Interesting story, at least. Story that probably doesn't age well. "79 laps. Can Dale Jr. find a way to pass the cars in front of him? Nobody has passed the leader on a non-restart all day long. Whether it was Shane Meal, who qualified on the pole but then lost time on pit road to Boyer during the first set of stops today. We don't even know if these guys can make it on fuel to the end of the race either. I don't know if it's possible. I think there still may be one more stop left. Oh, jeez. I guess that's a good thing. Well, if he wasn't before, he definitely won't be now. I said Boyer would be harder to pass than Vickers. It doesn't mean that Vickers is going to be easier or easy to pass. Junior could get right behind him, but he just can't make the move. And he can't even really get close enough to touch him and try to move him out of the way either. Onto the apron. Well, the curbing, I guess. Used to there being an apron there, but not tonight. Junior looks low, under Vickers. Vickers chops the door off on Dale Jr. And Junior could not make the pass on him. It's an aggressive block by Brian Vickers. Junior a bit wider than Vickers that time off of turn 4. Couldn't build the momentum up. That was definitely by far the closest Dale Jr. has been to getting inside the top 2 today. Really throwing it in deep on corner entry into turn 3, desperately trying to get to the inside of the 57. He feels if he can get underneath him, that will be enough to hopefully just hang on and side draft him so he can pass him the next corner. He knows he's not going to be able to clear him in one corner. Vickers and Earnhardt gaining a bit of time on Boyer up ahead. Trying to force Vickers into a mistake. He got him loose. Dale Jr. intimidates Brian Vickers. Vickers off the curb, bobbles, and Jr.'s up to second. That's one way to get around him. Force him into a mistake. Not one, but 2 of them, because he hit the curb on the front stretch, or on the back stretch, and Jr. was able to clear him on the outside. But the only way you can pass on the high side at Phoenix. Now, can he get to Clint Boyer, who's a little over a second ahead of him? That was a clean pass, too, by Dale Jr. Does he have anything for the 2? And can he get to him before lap traffic, as we know Junior is going to struggle there. Definitely know Dale Jr. is going to be a little bit shorter on fuel to the end of the race than the rest of the field, because he pitted during the 3rd yellow for fuel and tires, not the 4th. And they only ran about 5 or 6 laps between cautions. The points comeback trail is on. Yes, it is. It started at Texas because I technically got a 9th place finish there, even though I lost points to the points leader. Junior couldn't completely stay out of trouble. I don't feel too guilty about bringing out the, it would have been the 4th yellow technically, only because it looked like a car was heading for the tire barrier as the spin happened in front of Dale Jr. anyway. So I think we were going to see a caution there regardless. Junior has not led a lap all day. He started at the rear of the field. Knew he was going to have to pull off some sort of strategy to get himself to the front. That early caution back at lap 16 allowed him to do so, and quickly, so he didn't have to worry about trying to get this track position back the rest of the race. He's been in the top 5 pretty much all day since, except for when he pitted during that 3rd yellow when everybody else stayed out. He's maybe slowly gaining on Boyer. But it's going to take some time to get to him because the 2 car still does have speed. Obviously, he's had the lead because of the clean air, but you can definitely tell he's probably made some adjustments during the 2 pit stops he's had today, because he seems a bit quicker in the back half of this race than what he did in the front half, and he led a lot of laps in the first half. And has probably already clinched the most laps led. If he hasn't already, he'll be very close to doing so pretty soon. We're going to alternate through the different camera angles one final time in tonight's race. Dale Jr. trying to prove that the short tracks are going to be his strong suit in this Busch Series season. His only win so far this year at the UPS Speedway on a half-mile short track. Now on a 1 mile flat short track at Phoenix, trying to get it tonight as well. Definitely going to have a great shot at it. Running in P2. He nailed that last restart to quickly gain 1 spot. And I almost wonder if we get a caution in this race. If that will be even more beneficial for Dale Jr. Big bounce off the curb. Really good corner though through 3 and 4. Hooked down to the bottom lane. Wondering if Truex can get back in the top 10. He was running 6th most of the race. Lost some spots during that last set of pit stops. He's back in 14th, the last we saw of him. It does seem like Junior's a little bit better in turns 3 and 4 than what he is in 1 and 2. Which, of course, with that being the final set of corners on the racetrack, that's probably more beneficial if it comes down to a shootout at the end of the race on the final lap. .60 laps to go. Boyer's going to catch the lap traffic first when they do get there, if we have a long enough green flag run to obviously get there in the first place. So that will help Dale Jr. initially, but Jr. struggled in lap traffic himself. So the hope would be that Boyer gets held up enough passing that very first car that Jr. could be right there for the taking. But if he doesn't get around to then, I don't know that he's going to have a shot. And that's why he really needs to push hard now and try to get to the lead before lap traffic. Because if we don't get a caution and another restart the rest of this race, I think Boyer's got this one sealed. And since Brian Vickers' mistake, he has lost a lot of time to both the 81 and the 2. Splash and go, final stop. That's if we do have to pit one more time. I'm not entirely sure if we do or not. Everybody pitted during that 4th yellow. It's going to be very, very interesting. And nobody has pitted yet since the restart. Usually you see cars pit as soon as the window's open to the end of the race. We obviously know we can go way more than 57 laps on fuel, so the window has been open at least for a little bit if it wasn't already open off the restart. Junior's just hoping he has enough. He's halfway on fuel. I don't think Dale Jr. has enough to make it to the end. We restarted with just less than 90 laps to go. I think he is going to be well short. Can everybody else make it? Though, is that next question. So if we do see a caution, Junior's definitely going to pit. It's a little bit faster than Boyer. The last lap by about 1/10 of a second. Gained another 10th this lap of a 27.785. Charges hard into turns 1 and 2. Hooks the yellow line most of the way through the corner. Cameron Duty, welcome to the stream. First time viewer, thanks for tuning in, man. Prime days of NASCAR gaming. Thanks for sharing, no problem. Hopefully you like the commentary as well. That's a big part of the channel. Try not to get that lost in the actual gameplay of the video game stuff during the week. Live commentary for the race weekends as well. So you'll be hearing me on Sunday on the channel, commentating the NASCAR Cup race at Sonoma. And even though the Cup Series is off next week, I will be doing commentary for the truck race at Knoxville next Saturday night as well. Junior pretty even with Boyer the last couple laps. We saw Vickers make a mistake. Can Dale Jr. force Boyer into a mistake and get around him for the lead? Obviously, Junior's got to get close enough first to really put the pressure on Clint. Commentary is what makes it unique. Thanks, man. Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think anybody else, NASCAR YouTubing wise at least, does anything like this. I think the closest would probably be Gary Oman, but he doesn't live stream it though when he does it. And I think he does like overlay commentary. I don't think he does it like as he's doing it. He's still a great YouTuber, though. Here's a big fantasy dialogue of the career mode playthroughs, too, which definitely adds uniqueness even more to his channel. Highly recommend going to check him out if you haven't already. Boyer a bit faster than Earnhardt the last couple laps again, and the lead is stretched right back out to 1 second even with 50 laps to go at Phoenix. May have a third stop waiting before the end of this race. And we can see the tail end of lap traffic as of right now. So these guys are probably less than a straightaway from the lap traffic. And Dale Jr. struggles in the lap traffic, at least at Phoenix today. Clint Boyer has dominated the race, but can Dale Jr. do something to get around the 2? Be nice to get 5 bonus points as well, even just for leading the lap. Dale Jr. has not led yet today. Thanks for hitting that subscribe button, man. Definitely like and subscribe if you haven't already, like Cameron just did. More daily NASCAR content. Tomorrow night's live stream on the channel will be the Cup Series race on our NASCAR 06 Do It For Dale series. Trying to get him his first Cup Series championship. Of course, trying to get him his 3rd Busch title at this point. You guys, the fans, voted for me to race as him in both series. And as well as Ron Hornaday in the Truck Series, trying to get him his 3rd title at that time in the Truck Series, which would eventually give him 5. And also trying to get the all-time wins record with Hornaday, because he came into the season 10 behind Busch. He did have 1 win in real life in 2005, so we need 12 wins on the Truck Series season to try and break the record. That's not counting if Kyle Busch wins any races that he has left to partake in the Truck Series this season in real life as well. I know he's racing this weekend at Sonoma. Probably be a threat to win. I mean, it'll be a threat to win regardless, any truck race he's in. He hasn't won one yet, though, this year. Do I commentate my everyday life outside of stream? No, I do not. Could you imagine if I did that, like when I was driving on my way to work or something? I hit the turn signal, pulling into the left lane, flying past the mid-range speed vehicle in the middle. Bugs have splattered on the windshield. He hits the wiper fluid. I almost hit a deer this morning on my way to work. That was eventful. I actually yelled. Because I saw a couple of them and they looked like they hesitated, like they were still going to run. And I was like, don't do it, don't do it. They ran away the opposite direction, thankfully. One car blowing up on the inside of the racetrack and will get to pit road. I couldn't tell who that was, but somebody has blown an engine in the late stage of this race. Junior a little bit quicker than Boyer that last lap. I'm not sure if Boyer maybe got held up by the lapper on the bottom in 3 and 4 or not. Commentate dash cam crashes and be hilarious. It's an interesting idea. I think on my next vlog I do for whatever I guess it would be Mid-Ohio for the IndyCar race. Maybe I'll do something like that. I'll commentate myself driving to the racetrack. Not the entire time, but maybe a little snippet of it. It'd be hard to do though while I'm actually driving if I don't get anybody to go with me. I wouldn't be able to stream it. Junior in the wall. Off the exit of turn 4. He got in the wall one other time earlier in the race. His car's tightening up quite a bit. Lost a lot of time with that mistake. He went from 1 second off the lead now to about 1.4 seconds off the lead. Boyer 0.4 of a second faster. You know, he is not making any mistakes right now. But with 40 laps to go this time by, does Dale Jr. have anything for Clint Boyer? Can he maybe get through lap traffic better this time around than what he did in the first half of the race? I think I've seen that commercial, Patrick. Junior a bit quicker than Boyer that last lap. And he wasn't even perfect through turns 3 and 4. He gained almost 0.2 of a second on him. He's starting to overstep it a little bit more. There's quite a bit of lap traffic at the very back of the pack right now. Off the curb for Earnhardt. He is absolutely digging. Congrats on winning closest to the pin. Didn't you win that another time too, recently? Throwing darts at the pin? It's been raining the last couple days. I haven't been able to golf. Actually, it was raining the day I got back from Gateway too. I haven't golfed since I got back. Gonna be rusty when I go out tomorrow. My day off. Side by side with lap traffic at the back of the field. Dale Jr. is in really no close range to be able to get around Boyer when Boyer first catches the lap cars. The hope is that he gets held up quite a bit and that Dale Jr. can close in. 35 laps to go at the start-finish line. Junior has ran a great race, but Boyer has just ran a better race. Quarter tank of gas left for Earnhardt. 34 to go this time by. When will the leaders start to pit? What will be the strategy call for Dale Earnhardt Jr.? I don't think fuel only is going to be in the question because that is going to be a long time on tires. He's going to have to go about 100 laps. But he might go right sides only to try and get out in front of Boyer. It's going to depend on how many laps are left when he and the rest of the field is going to end up hitting the pits. And he'll probably pit about 5 to 6 laps before anybody else. He's definitely going to stretch this tank out as far as he possibly can go in case we get a caution. He does not want to get trapped a lap down, especially this late in the race. 2 weeks in a row, okay. I remember you saying it sometime recently you got it. I was thinking it was a couple weeks ago for some reason. Boyer's getting through the lap traffic nearly perfectly. He's actually extended his lead over Earnhardt just a bit, and Earnhardt hasn't even caught any lap cars. We've had 4 cautions today. We've seen a lot of them, it seems like, on this game, no matter what the series is, but especially in the Busch series. I don't doubt that this race will go green to the end, almost 90 laps. And if it does, it would be the longest green flag run of the race. Earnhardt is 1.5 seconds off the lead. He's going to catch his first lap car. Now remember, Junior can't be involved in the caution if we do get a yellow. Really overdrove turns 1 and 2. He's got to be careful not to push it too hard here and risk wrecking himself because he's got a big gap over third place, I guess, behind him with Brian Vickers. Assuming that Vickers is still the one in third. 30 to go. But also, Junior wants to keep somewhat close. Trying to speak all at once there. Close proximity of Boyer. Up by the 108 car. Going to send it into turns 3 and 4. Make the pass on the 121. Up by 2 lap cars that lap. A little bit of space before he catches the next few. 5 lap cars right now between Boyer and Earnhardt. Boyer's got a little bit of a gap before he catches any lap cars as well. And it is going to be constant heavy lap traffic, it seems like, to the end of this race. Unless they space out a bit more during green flag pit stops. We'll obviously just have to wait and see how that works. Junior trying to find a way to back these corners up a little bit without losing too much time in the process. Trying something new. It's going to allow him to get a little bit better corner exit. The problem is he's not going to be able to do that when he gets alongside another car. He can do that while he's behind the traffic. That would be about it. 1/8 of a tank of gas left for Earnhardt now. 25 laps to go this time by. Junior slides the tires a bit. That was just using a bit too much of the brakes. Was all that was. 56 to his outside, got into the outside wall. Earnhardt clears him with a clean pass. No outside lane at Phoenix. Pretty much known that all day. Even the few times we've seen 3 wide. So I don't think Earnhardt's been 3 wide at all today. Every time he thought about it, he thought better of it. Didn't actually end up committing. Ooh, Junior nearly turned the car in front of him. Oh, and he almost did it again. That's going to cost him quite a bit of time. Car behind him bounced off the curb. Going to give Dale Jr. a little bit more breathing room. But now he's 2 seconds off the lead. Struggling in lap traffic again. Pit crew is going to have to be on it. They've been very inconsistent this season. Sometimes they've been great and really fast stops, and sometimes they have made a mistakes, and we've seen sub 20 second or messing up my grammar. Seen more than 20-second pit stops multiple times this season between the Busch and the Cup Series. There's a lot of heavy traffic that Clint Boyer is in, but Dale Jr.'s got a lot of heavy traffic in front of him as well. Oh, just about had an accordion effect that time into turns 1 and 2. Also, Jr. going up the track, got hooked on the car to his outside and barely kept it off the outside wall, and he's going to lose a ton of time once again. Both cars kept it off the wall, but Dale Jr. is now over 4 seconds off the race lead from Clint Boyer with 20 to go at the line. That was another crucial mistake. The further away behind he falls, the less and less of a chance he is going to have of even with a 2-tire stop trying to cycle out ahead of Boyer. Hopefully that's the last one we see in the chat today. Or ever. 19 laps to go. Very low on fuel for Dale Jr. I think everybody's going to have to pit to the end of the race because he's going to be able to go a few more laps, and he'll be pitting 5 to 6 laps before anybody else. I highly doubt that the rest of the field will make it to the end. Jr. will pit at lap 185 is going to be the plan. And he is going to take the gamble, and he'll go right sides only during his stop. It's going to be a major gamble for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Davion West, welcome to the stream. Jr. going to drive it in deep into turn 3. Trying to get around the lap car in the 56 to the outside, who he had already passed before, but he got back around him after Jr. got hung up on another lap car a few laps ago. 16 laps to go now. 4.7 seconds off the lead into turn 1. Bit of a power slide for Dale Jr. But it will be right side tires only for Jr. 4.8 seconds off the lead in second place of Clint Boyer. He's going to be all by himself into turn 3. He'll have plenty of time to get this car down to the bottom of the track, or at least keep it there. 70 miles per hour is the pit road speed limit. Can't spin out. Oh, he's in the inside wall. Caution's going to be out for the 5th time today. That is not at all what he wanted to do there. He really needed this to play green and have everybody cycle through. It was coming in a bit too hot. He kind of wheel hopped it, and into the tire barrier he goes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Caution number 5 today. Jeez Louise. And everybody else is going to stay out. I might as well pit for Feeler tires. I shouldn't, but I know Junior's not going to be able to make it. I bet when I restart, I'd probably run out of gas. Everybody else is going to stay out. And how much fuel are they going to be able to save here? Because the caution came out with 15 laps to go when Boyer had already crossed the line in front of Earnhardt. So 15 laps to go. We see a caution for the 5th time in this race. Everybody else had about 5 to 6 more green flag laps of fuel left. And we're probably going to restart with right around 10 to go. I feel like them staying out, they think they can make it to the end. Junior's going to stay on the lead lap, but he's going to have the whole field in front of him for the restart. Green flag going to be back in the air. 11 laps to go. Boyer leads on the restart. Can he hang on? Dale Jr. back in 21st right now. Not a caution he needed. An aggressive move trying to get by the 137. Will bump and run for position. Junior on fresher tires and trying to take off. Look at the moves he is making right now. About 80 lap fresher Goodyears. Clear. One car in the wall and nearly got spun off of turn 4. Big stack up. McMurray had to miss him to the outside. We stay green. It's going to be more green flag laps for Junior to make passes. It's hard to pass at this track, but when you have about 80 lap fresher tires, it's going to be the easiest. Launch the car in front of him. He's going to move him again. Up to 14th. That was 2 passes for position. Junior has to be careful not to wreck the race car, though, this late in the race. Caution costed him, but another one could cost him even more, especially if he's involved again. Being blocked big time by Tony Raines. Forced Earnhardt to get a bit wide. 56 car in the wall. Earnhardt on the dive bomb, makes the pass on Raines. That was for 12th. Passes a couple lap cars as well. 7 laps to go at Phoenix. Bobby Labonte leads for the first time today. Boyer lost the lead on that last restart. Junior sends it into the corner. Got a bit hung up on the car on his outside. He's back inside the top 10. 6 to go. I think that caution is going to be just enough of a fuel saver for everybody else to be able to make it to the end. 5 to go. If a caution comes out now, the race is going to be over. Junior drives it in deep again. 3 wide to the bottom underneath Casey Kane in the 79. No contact that time. Rival on the outside trying to wipe Junior out on the front stretch. Dale Jr. barely holds on to his car. Oh, and he just clipped Casey Kane after clipping the inside wall. Bit of an accordion effect. Junior is driving so flat into the corners because he keeps getting blocked and squeezed, especially on the backstretch. Shane Meal is back in the lead for the first time since leading the opening laps today from the pole. And Boyer is falling back at least a few spots, it looks like, after the restart. Meal trying to find his way to victory lane. Two to go at the line. No cautions on the final lap if we get there. Junior up to 9th. And Casey Kane was for position. Still going to be a good point state for Dale Jr. He's not going to get a lap led in here unless something crazy happens. Final lap, Meals pulling away at the front of the field. Final lap of the race. Into turns 1 and 2. Little bump and run on Michael Jourdain Jr. That moves Dale Jr. to 8th. Looking for Kenny Walls for 7th. He'll have one more corner to get around the 23 car. He'll be underneath him into turns 3 and 4. Truex going to back out of it as well. Team orders. 6th by inches over his teammate. Team orders allowed Dale Jr. to get to 6th at the end there, but congratulations to Shane Meal winning at Phoenix today from the pole. He didn't lead many laps, but that late yellow costed Boyer the win, and Dale Jr. unfortunately did gather himself to get a top 10. 6th place on those fresher tires to the end of the race, but that caution probably costed himself a shot to win the race as well. I don't know that the field would have been able to make it to the end without the yellow. 1 hour, 51 minutes total time on today's race. Average speed of 107.44 miles an hour, 9 lead changes, 5 cautions for 15 caution laps. 0.2 of a second was the margin of victory. Shane Meal wins, 22 laps led. Boyer led the most, 156 of the 200 laps led today, but a 3rd place finish for him. Bobby Labonte took the lead initially in the restart, led 3 laps, finished 2nd. Mentioned Boyer was 3rd. Brian Vickers led 17 laps today, finished in 4th. And then Smith rounds out the top 10 highest running fantasy driver, or top 5 in 5th as the highest running fantasy driver. Dale Jr. no laps led today, but finishes 6th. Good points day. His teammate Martin Truex Jr. ended up in 7th. Great run for him today as well. So both the Chance 2 Motorsport cars did finish in the top 7. Kenny Walsh ends up finishing in 8th. Michael Jourdain Jr. 9th, and Casey Kane rounds out the top 10. 21 cars finished on the lead lap, and we didn't have that many engine failures today. I think we only saw a few. 2, to be exact. J.J. Yaley on lap 26, and then Trigger on lap 156. So only 2 engine failures and 2 DNFs in tonight's race. Well, we know track position is going to be the name of the game for the Cup Series race at Phoenix tomorrow, because that seemed to be the case today with this race at Phoenix for the Busch Series. We'll check out the point standings before we end this stream. 9 races in. Our next Busch race will be Saturday night for the Aaron's 312 at the Talladega Superspeedway. We'll have the Cup race at Phoenix tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Friday night, we'll have the Cup Series on NASCAR 6 at Talladega, and then the Busch Series NASCAR 6 at Talladega on Saturday. So that will be the plan, and then I'll be doing live commentary for the actual Cup race on Sunday afternoon at Sonoma this weekend as well. So that will round out the week on the channel. I feel like I've gained spots and points. I was 18th coming in. Shane Meal has taken over the points lead. He's 39 points ahead of Aaron Crocker. Boyer's still in 3rd. Truex is in the top 5 right now. Dale Jr. up to 15th. He gained 3 spots and points today. He's 289 back. He was 311 back. So very, very barely gains on the points leader. Obviously, with Shane Meal taking the points lead today, he didn't gain much time. I think J.J. Yaley was leading the points before, if I'm not mistaken. That dropped him back to 7th, 94 points out of 1st. That's insane, though. 94 points separating the top 7. Now, granted, we're only 9 races in. So, it's, again, this field will slowly start to bunch apart. And then when we get about halfway through the season, we'll know who the real contenders are. And hopefully, I'm one of them. But trying to play catch-up right now after a rough start to the season. But just got the 4 top 10 with a 7th place finish today. Actually, that's the 2nd highest finish this season. And that's 3 top 10s in the last 4 races. So I'm slowly getting better. And I was in the top 5 late at Bristol until I ran out of fuel with 4 to go on bad pit strategy. So if I could have made it on fuel there, I mean, those could have been 4 really good performances. Obviously, the short tracks are my bread and butter. 7th tonight at Phoenix. Our only win was at the UPS Speedway. Mr. Clean Speedway was 10th. And Bristol, I ran out of gas with 4 to go. So Obviously, that is going to be the strong suit this season. It's going to be the short tracks. And we know Dale Jr. is good on the super speedways. I am not on the EA Sports games on super speedways, but we'll see what Talladega will bring on Saturday. But thanks for everybody tuning in. I'll see you guys again 6 p.m. Eastern Standard start time tomorrow night for NASCAR 06. And it will be Cup Series racing at Phoenix for, I believe, the Subway Fresh Fit 312 or 500. 500, I guess it would be. Kilometers. But yeah, thanks for having a fun night of racing again tonight. Glad you enjoyed. I'll see you guys tomorrow, back and better than ever as always.